Given a name like World War II, you would think that the entire world fought in the war. However, there were some notable exceptions in Europe that were able to stay out of the war, or at least stay mostly out of it. These exceptions include Sweden, Switzerland, Spain, and Portugal, and in this video, we will be discussing how these nations remain neutral. Let's start with the country that was the least neutral out the bunch, and in my opinion, that is Spain. During World War II, Spain was run by a fascist strongman named Francisco Franco, and you would think, given his fascist ties, Spain would join the war on the side of fellow fascist nations, Germany and Italy, especially since Germany and Italy sent troops and supplies to aid Franco in the Spanish Civil War. However, it is the Spanish Civil War, which was fought from 1936 to 1939 that was arguably the biggest reason for Spain's neutrality. The Spanish Civil War left Spain decimated and in ruin. In reality, the Spanish military wouldn't have helped the Axis much. Spain also relied heavily on American imports during this period, and joining the Axis would have almost certainly put an end to trade with the United States. However, as mentioned earlier, Spain was not completely neutral and did help the Axis in other ways. Spain allowed German U-boats to dock in their territory. Spain also traded the majority of the mineral tungsten to Germany rather than the Allied powers. Tungsten is an important mineral used in anti-tank weapons and different tools. The majority of tungsten mines lay in Spain, and at that time, Spain was the second largest exporter of tungsten. Spain was also used as a conduit for German trade with South America, which helped the Germans gain access to several key minerals and supplies. Conversely, the other nation on the Iberian Peninsula, Portugal, maintained the same level of neutrality as the Spanish, but they were more sympathetic and supportive of the Allies. Britain and Portugal have the oldest alliance in the world, dating back to 1373, and both governments confirmed this alliance was still in effect at the beginning of the war, but Portugal was free to remain neutral. This was for many reasons, with some being that since Spain was neutral, it would be an additional logistical issue to connect Portugal to other allied nations. Portugal, like Spain, had a weak military at the time and would not have provided the Allies with much of a boost in their war effort. Remaining neutral also helped keep Portugal's colonial holdings safe from Axis invasions and allowed them to continue trade with Axis nations, which helped their economy. Since they were neutral, Portuguese vessels were also safe from German U-boat attacks, which many other nations cannot say the same. Portugal officially joining the Allies would have almost certainly prompted Spain to join the Axis, which would have created more of a headache for the Allies than it was worth. Portugal, however, helped the Allies when they granted them use of the Azore Islands, which they used to build naval and aerial bases to help combat and destroy German U-boats patrolling in the Atlantic. Portugal was also pivotal in refugee evacuations from France and Gibraltar to Portuguese territory. The next nation we will look at is the only Scandinavian country to avoid invasion by Germany, and that is Sweden. Sweden, up until recently, was also known for its neutrality and did not participate in the First World War. But as you can imagine, the Axis often didn't care if you were neutral or not and invaded neutral nations when they deemed it would be beneficial, and that is what happened with the other Scandinavian nations of Denmark and Norway. With Denmark's access to the Baltic Sea, and with Norway's bases and Atlantic coastline in German hands, and the Reich looking unstoppable at the start of the war, Sweden capitulated to many German demands, such as access to Swedish telephone, telegraph, and rail lines, as well as Germany being able to move their troops throughout Sweden's territory. Sweden also continued to trade with Germany, with iron ore being the commodity that the Germans desired most from Sweden. Britain and the other allies were sympathetic to Sweden's position as they were virtually surrounded by German controlled territory and they didn't have the military might to resist. Germany also didn't need nor want to invade Sweden as they generally did whatever Germany demanded and they were focused on other pressing matters on the continent, allowing Sweden to remain free. But as the war raged on and the Allies began to push back against Germany, Sweden was able to resist German demands while still not officially joining the Allies and remaining neutral until the end of the war. Finally, we get to a nation that is almost synonymous with neutrality, and that is Switzerland. Despite being sandwiched in the middle of Europe and between the Axis nations of Germany and Italy, Switzerland still managed to stay neutral and avoid invasion during World War II. There are several reasons for this, one being their mountainous geography, which would make it difficult than the other relatively flat nations the Germans invaded, as well as making economic concessions to Germany. To start, Switzerland was able to mobilize quicker than almost any other nation at the beginning of the war when Germany invaded Poland. And while their nation and military was small, they made their country into a fortress and installed military deterrence throughout their territory, which would make it a costly endeavor for anyone who wanted to invade, and far more trouble than it would be worth, as they installed fortifications and supplies high up in the Alps, where they believed they would be able to resist any invader indefinitely. Switzerland proved pivotal, however, for Germany with trade. The Germans would sell looted goods, particularly gold, to the Swiss and receive Swiss francs, and therefore could buy goods on the international market. An estimated 90 tons of gold was laundered through Swiss banks, which is worth over $1.5 billion in today's money. Switzerland continued to trade with Germany until the end of the war, but like Sweden, when possible, they would trade with the Allies as well and did not purposely favor one side as Spain or Portugal did. Thank you.